Thanks for listening to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast, keeping you up to date with the latest in American soccer. And don't forget to subscribe.
Oh, Omar, and it's the end of 2017. 2018, here we come, and no USA in the World Cup. Woohoo!
Woo!
How exciting!
Oh, I'm so excited. I love it. I'm ecstatic to see my boy Christian Pulisic
On the couch
in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I love it. 10 out of 10. Would recommend.
I would recommend putting cameras there at ESPN so we can see his facial reaction. I would also like to see what Michael Bradley's doing.
Probably shining his bald head.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked to Morgan Hughes, Save the Crew, and he had some interesting takes on Michael Bradley.
Oh, often they like Michael Bradley over there.
But I think the funny thing is he called those petty, or I don't remember what the terminology is, and I would say I wouldn't necessarily agree with them because I thought like he said something very truthful that a lot of people have been wanting to say. And it's not even about Save the Crew. I think you could say that about the Revolution, about some sense the Rapids, Dallas.
Rapids. There's so many teams with attendance issues.
DC United for a while. Up until we'll see what the new stadium comes up with. Chicago. You can say a lot about these clubs. Same thing.
It's not just for Columbus. I mean, it can go for any of those clubs. But Steven, we have a great guest that's going to be on today.
Yes.
And talking about a change in U.S. soccer.
Well, we originally had booked this individual before the nomination list had come out, the official list. This was, this individual was all about, we spoke with him beforehand. Fortunately, we weren't able to find a time that worked for the both of us, but we were able to talk to him. Unfortunately, the list had come out. Paul Lapointe wasn't able to make it to the next round, I guess you would call it, of the U.S. soccer presidential election process. But however, when we spoke with him, he provided great insight and talked a little bit more about his platform, but kind of an interesting.
I would say it was discussion.
It was more of a discussion than an interview. We discussed the media. We discussed the connection among the candidates to money, to basically what he originally, I guess, what his idea of what change was, and it was to ask questions. And we did what he wanted the U.S. soccer fan base to do, and is to ask questions.
Yeah, and I thought it was a great little bit of insight, and we hope that you'll enjoy it. And even though he's not a candidate, he still has loads of experience within the U.S. soccer realm, and I think his opinion should. And he also did clarify the comments that he made with Alexi Lalas that did cause a little bit of a storm.
Yes.
So you get to hear all that stuff coming up.
Yep, coming up right now. Alrighty, listeners, we got a fantastic individual on the line with us. It's Paul Lapointe. He just unfortunately didn't get the nominations, but was a former U.S. soccer presidential candidate, Massachusetts business owner, serves as Northeast Conference manager in the semi-pro United Premier Soccer League, had some playing tryouts with the old NASL New York Cosmo and Tampa Bay Rowdies, had a stint in the USISL, and president of the American Indoor Soccer League. How's it going, Paul? Thanks for joining us.
How's it going, fellas? Thanks for having me on.
We're doing great. And let's just get to your overall thoughts on not being able to move on in the process and the process itself.
My thoughts are amazing experience. I have no disappointment. I pleaded my case and my platform and my views and my thoughts from the heart. And it's been an amazing experience. And, I thank the USSF for approving me as a candidate. And, it doesn't come without a little bit of controversy or some questions. But overall, amazing experience. I was honored.
So, Paul, looking back on your experience running through the election process, was there anything that you regretted? Um, just looking back.
I don't regret one thing. The only thing that I'm saddened about and confused about is the actual clarity of the process that we all signed up for. And, as of the late letter by Steve Gans, another candidate, questioning the integrity of the process, and then Paul Caligari with his recent letter of some switching of positions before the election is even over. I've had many questions since May of 2017 when I put out my letter of intent and then got approved first week of September, which left a very small window to ramp up a campaign and then the qualifications and processes thereof. So, and I still have questions today because it's, I believe the nomination process is not transparent, and I believe it's broken. And I've made that very clear with a letter, my final letter to the USSF, and my questions that I have. But I'm not going to put those out publicly. It's my personal feeling. I have no grievances at this point. I've just been honored and remain doing so.
So you just said you don't want to publicly present these questions that you have about the process. Is that correct?
Well, my last letter, my last formal letter to them, I won't make public at this time. But all the questions that I've been asking are very, very upfront publicly, and one of them is the rescinding process that I found out about hours just before I was going to present in Florida at a major forum. I was not notified in writing. I had to come back from Florida and actually call the Federation and ask them and email them, is this true? And why did you do this? And then the insertion of candidates kind of coming in the race late, one withdrawing very late. What's the reasoning for that? And again, the nomination process is just very confusing, and they change the rules as they go, and it just creates a lot of questions, and it opened up Pandora's box. And today I stand, if the system's technically broken and there's two other candidates that agree, then why do they only make it for the next 2 months to have a second party come in and oversee this election process? If it's broken from the beginning.
Absolutely, Paul. But let's take a little jump back and let's talk about your experience in the soccer realm. You said in an interview to 442, when God wrote the commandments, he wrote the 11th commandment. And the 11th commandment is never walk away from soccer. I figured out when I was playing that I'm going to follow that commandment. And there's really not a lot left to do. So, Paul, with that quote, it's clear that you have a true love for the game. So, what is your experience throughout soccer in your youth days?
Well, again, back in the middle 70s, there wasn't a lot of options. There was really no clubs. There was open fields. There was fields that surrounded the college area, and and when I started, all you sought out if you loved the game was a field with a big green backboard on it that you could kick against. There was no premier clubs, elite clubs, maple leagues, and recreation soccer and things like that. I started out as a ball boy, and that's when I fell in love with the sport. My dad was going to a local college in Rhode Island, and they asked me to be the ball boy, and I was like, wow, look at this. And the rest is history. So 47 years in the game, from a player, youth player, coach, team owner, professional coach, college coach, professional representative in the sport, you name it, being a father with 2 kids in the system as well. All these years, both my boys, one's 32 and one's 30. So what is there left to do? So, you just got to keep on plugging forward, and that's why I'm with the UPSL, still affecting the game in the adult amateur ranks where the magic happens every day, both women's and men's, in the youth ranks. And, here we are today. But I'm only 54 years old. I got a lot of juice left in the tank, some say. So we'll see what these next 4 years will bring, and then possibly get on the bandwagon again, because hopefully some of the things that we've all heard in the last 6 or 7 months from all of us running against somebody who's kind of dominated the chair for 11 seasons or 11 years. Hopefully some new things will change and we can move on.
Yeah, Paul, it's funny that you mentioned, 44 is the new 54.
Right.
What's the big difference? Because you grew up in an age where soccer wasn't what it was today, to say the least. What
right.
are the, what have you seen in front of your eyes and how you've grown up with it to how kids and how young people are growing up with it today?
Well, popularity by design. It's just amazing. The very things that I felt playing as a kid, I think some of the kids now, even 3 to 5 year olds, feel that same feeling, but now have more of an opportunity because the sport has struggled and has been turbulent for so many years. Back in the late 70s and early 80s, all we had was maybe professional soccer and college soccer to watch at this point. So there wasn't a lot of options. And then when soccer pulled out of the United States for a short period of time, it left that gap for soccer to evolve in different areas. But over the past years, and maybe the last 20 to 25 years, I think soccer has concentrated more on the pure money of the sport and what it can do from an income standpoint, because the kids are playing the sport in every community now at so many different levels. But we lost the development part of it, and that's been the push for me. Is we all have ourselves to blame why we don't qualify for a World Cup, or we want to use these fancy terms like pay to play and pro rel and all these things, both in the men's and women's game. So, it's just, we're all looking back at this point and questioning maybe ourselves in the soccer realm of our lives, that, do we all contribute to the good things, and do we all contribute to the bad things? And we move on from here, because soccer's not broken. This country just needs a tune-up.
And absolutely, Paul. It's actually interesting you mentioned the development aspect of how we develop our players, because yesterday, a couple days back, we talked to Eric Stover, who's the CEO of the Cosmos, and he mentioned the same thing, that we're struggling to we develop players good until 13, 14, 15, but it's those important 16, 17, 18 in that range that we fail to develop the player properly. Do you agree with that?
I do, and part of this whole process is because the sectors of soccer are so divided. Everybody wants to make the claim of this is the only way to develop our kids through a system that'll feed, when we're only talking about our national team level, is there's no inclusion of the college, the futsal, the recreational league. Everybody's, like I said, and I've used this term before, we're all flying in the same airspace, but we're not flying in the same pattern. At this point, it's frustrating, but there's got to be inclusion with all of us in these development ranks to come up with a system that we all agree upon without stepping on each other's business plan. Because everybody's afraid of the business plan that'll be affected, because in that business plan is a profit and loss statement, and it affects that. So, we need to define a development process from 3 years old all the way up through, and what is it going to take to do it?
Well, let's get into, unfortunately, you're not running anymore, but I do want to break down your platform, because I think it is interesting, because you've been outspoken, and you're one of the few candidates that does have some more punch to your platform, and I get the sense, and this is just my personal feeling, I don't know if Armand would agree with this, but all the other candidates, you kind of feel like, there's not much difference between them, so it's kind of hard to, and unfortunately, us, the public, and us, the media, have absolutely no say in this, so it's just